For thousands of years, gold has been humanity's universal language of trust, a store of wealth, a pillar of kingdoms, and a silent witness to both glory and atrocity. And in the chaotic years of the Second World War, more gold slipped across borders, disappeared into vaultums, and changed hands behind closed doors than perhaps at any other time in history. This is the forgotten story of how the most trusted form of money was stolen, laundered, and absorbed into the post-war world, and why a portion of it may still be missing. To understand how so much gold could just evaporate from the public record, we have to remember what it represented before the world burned. In the first half of the 20th century, most global currencies were tied to gold reserves. Nations hoarded it like lifeblood, the one guarantee that paper promises could be redeemed. For governments, gold meant legitimacy. For citizens, it meant safety. As Europe edged toward war in the late 1930s, countries that feared invasion began quietly moving their reserves overseas. The Netherlands sent over 100 tons of gold to American and British vaults. Belgium shipped hundreds of tons as well, confident they would be beyond the reach of German armies. They were wrong. When Nazi forces swept across Europe in 1940, they seized gold with the same precision they used to seize territory. To the Reich, gold was more than treasure. It was fuel. It paid for tungsten, oil, rubber, and other essential imports Germany couldn't produce. And there was one nation willing to accept that gold with few questions asked: Switzerland. Belgium's story is one of the most infamous. On the eve of the invasion, the Belgian government entrusted 198 tons of gold to France for safekeeping. But then, France fell. The gold was shipped to West Africa, and eventually, it quietly found its way back into Nazi hands. Hitler didn't just loot Europe, he monetized it. Poland attempted a more daring escape, orchestrating a covert relocation of its reserves across Romania, Turkey, and finally to Canada and the United States. They partially succeeded, but across the continent, tons of sovereign gold were seized, melted down, stripped of their national markings, and poured into the veins of the Nazi war machine. Germany wasn't alone. In the East, the Japanese Empire plundered Asia with equal ruthlessness. In China, Southeast Asia, and the Philippines, Japanese forces confiscated bullion, gems, and priceless cultural artifacts. Much of this is now associated with the legendary Golden Lily operation, treasure supposedly hidden in underground tunnels and caverns waiting to be reclaimed. While some tales are exaggerated, enough evidence suggests that enormous quantities of precious metal were indeed buried and never found after the war. By 1945, with defeat looming, both Germany and Japan tried to hide whatever wealth they had left. Allied intelligence teams recovered some of it. One of the most dramatic discoveries was in the Merkers salt mine in Germany, where American troops found over 100 tons of gold, coins, and stolen art. Yet this enormous hoard was only a fraction of what was believed to have been stolen. The rest? Already melted, traded, or entombed somewhere far from public view. The war ended, but the mystery only deepened. Europe was shattered, economies had collapsed, and borders were redrawn. In this turmoil, untraceable wealth could slip effortlessly into new hands and new power structures. In 1946, the Allies created the Tripartite Gold Commission to identify and return looted reserves. Over decades, they redistributed about 336 tons, but historians estimate that several thousand tons were taken in total. That means most of the gold stolen in the war never reappeared, at least not publicly. Suspicion fell on neutral nations that had continued business as usual during the conflict. Switzerland is the most scrutinized. Throughout the war, Swiss banks bought hundreds of millions of dollars in gold from Nazi Germany, much of it undeniably stolen from occupied nations and Holocaust victims. Investigations in the 1990s confirmed these transactions occurred and that Swiss institutions fought to keep the records sealed long after the war. Portugal, Spain, Sweden, and Turkey were also implicated as financial go-betweens. Neutrality, it turned out, was very profitable. The post-war years saw another transformation. Unregistered gold, with no paper trail, became the quiet engine of the Cold War. It could fund intelligence networks, political parties, and black budget operations without any oversight. The gold hadn't disappeared. It had been weaponized into influence. Meanwhile, the global financial system evolved. The Bretton Woods Agreement solidified gold as the backbone of international finance. Official reserves were declared, but not necessarily completely. Nations like the United States and the United Kingdom absorbed wartime bullion into their vaults, no questions asked. Reconstruction demanded stability. Asking about where the gold came from was inconvenient. Yet the story refuses to close. Even today, rumors surface. An armored train full of gold buried in a Polish mountain tunnel, a sunken ship off the coast of Asia, forgotten tunnels in the Philippines. Many claims prove to be fantasy. Others remain unresolved. What is certain is that massive stores of gold, worth billions today, vanished during World War II, and much of it has never been found. But the real significance isn't just the lost treasure. It's what the disappearance revealed, that when systems collapse, ownership becomes negotiable. Gold, the very symbol of security, proved vulnerable. A nation's reserves meant nothing if its capital fell. A bank vault meant nothing if its guards changed uniforms. Wealth didn't vanish. It just relocated to whoever had the means to move it fastest. And the same principle holds true today. Modern wealth hides differently. In offshore accounts, digital transfers, cryptocurrencies, shell corporations. But the mechanics are the same. When crisis erupts, assets flow toward those with the power to conceal them. Gold is no exception. Neither are dollars, euros, or Bitcoin. For investors, the lesson is harsh. Gold is only safe when you control where it sits. A bar in your vault is not the same as a bar in a bank under someone else's jurisdiction. Laws shift. Regimes fall. Borders change. Financial stability is never permanent. It's conditional. The missing gold of the post-war world is more than a historical riddle. It's a warning. When nations fracture, wealth migrates. Legality becomes flexible, and morality becomes optional. History doesn't repeat itself, but it echoes. We saw how wealth moved in the 1940s. We can see similar patterns emerging now. Global tension, realignment of power, and currency uncertainty. The question is not whether wealth can vanish again. It is how fast, and who will notice first. If this perspective shifted how you see history, subscribe. The past leaves clues, and I'll help you follow them.